different for different games. Games like badminton, shooting, golf is totally different from contact games like wrestling or kabaddi. So they have to change a lot. Fundamentals of the games will not change. Training schedule will have to change. They will have to separate them into different age groups because of obvious reasons. Protocols will change. Cannot keep social distancing in football or boxing. Precautions will have to be very strict. Is all these leading towards e-games? There was a nice article in The Week recently. Some disciplines like cycling and in motorsports, virtual competition is already taking place, high level. Let us get on to the meeting with this introduction. The format is going to be presentation and questions and answers by the panel, presentation by my colleague, Dr. Santosh Sahanand, sports knee surgeon and cartilage surgeon, and Mr. Ganesan, sports physical therapist. We really have a star-studded faculty as panel members. This includes top athletes, managers, and coaches. I'm very grateful to them for sparing their time and participating in this. I shall introduce them to you soon. And this meeting is being conducted by Zoom facility as well as YouTube. If you are in Zoom, you can interact a little better. There'll be polling for questions and you can answer them as you like. This will help us in the discussion. While the meeting is going on, please mute your microphone and you can enter your doubts and questions on the chat box or question and answer section. We will answer them. And let me introduce to you the panelists. First, Mr. E.J. Sunny from Kerala, representing basketball, former Indian coach, served in Basketball Federation of India, chairman of the selection committee several years. He's mentored a lot of young Indian level, international level players. And then we have Mr. G.E. Sridharan, son of the soil, volleyball, and he is a winner of Arjuna Award, Dronacharya Award, Marmelin Award, etc. Former Indian captain and coach, he has mentored several young volleyball players into Indian team. Then we have very important Mr. Bhaskaran, hockey coach, former captain of Indian hockey team, which won gold at 1980 Moscow Olympics. Then Arjuna awardee, coach and mentor. He will also represent golf to us because he's an ardent golfer. Then we have Mr. Mohammad Akbar bin Abdul Nawaz from Singapore. He's a football head coach of Chennai City Football Club, which won I-League year before last year. He has led several teams from Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Philippines towards many championships like Tampine Rovers, Global Cebu, all used to be his teams. We have Mr. George Thomas. He had a difficulty in the signal. I hope he's here. For badminton, he is former Indian captain, singles as well as doubles champion, Arjuna awardee, coach and mentor for several international players. We have Chakra Birur, passionate cyclist, endurance athlete, triathlon, Ironman, etc. A long distance cyclist who's done Paris several times. We also have very importantly Mr. Vallabhan, sports physical therapist, and he's leading PASO. He's been in charge of cricket teams as well as kabaddi teams. Tamil Thalaivaas has been under his care. Very importantly, we have athlete Mr. Darun, who is right now practicing for the Olympics in Punjab. He is also son of the soil. He won bronze in the last Asian Games. And now he is in Punjab. He is also. Last but not the least, we have Captain Sudanan Rajan from Malaysia. He's a pilot, an ardent motor sports athlete. He will highlight us in his discipline of sports. Now I hand over to Dr. Santosh Sahanan.
So I've just muted all speakers, so just so that there is no disturbance. So to start with, I thank everybody for being here, and let's start. There are about 90 participants in the Zoom, and there are YouTube which is going on. It's quite a number of participants in the YouTube currently. So before we start, I will just start with the poll questions to all of you, just to have an idea of what kind of an audience we are having currently among the 90 odd who are participating. So can all of the participants see the, at least the panelists, can you see the polling options? And you can go ahead and vote for the panelists cannot vote. Other audiences, they started to vote. The questions are, which sport do you predominantly play? Just to have an idea. And the second question is on which language you prefer this session to be. And the third one is, how did you keep yourself engaged during the lockdown? So we'll wait for 5 to 10 seconds till we get a few answers. There seems to be varying answers among the audience. So I'll count down. So in 5 seconds, the polling is going to get over. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me a couple of seconds to allow a panelist to come in. Yeah, okay. Okay, Mr. Srinivasan from our stadium is coming. Welcome, Srinivasan, sir. Okay, let's see the results. So which sport do you predominantly play? Okay. So all sporting population seems to be here. So I would, the majority being badminton and others. So all kind of athletic population seems to be here. Others, I would assume, would be golf, and I'm not sure what other sports are there. Rowing or swimming might be there. And this next question, English only, Tamil and English. Okay, சரி தமிழும் கலந்து பேசுறதா பெட்டர்னு நினைக்கிறேன். So I hope all are comfortable with that. ரெண்டு mix பண்ணி பேசிக்கலாம் so that everybody are comfortable. And how did you spend your time in the last 2 or 3 months during lockdown? Okay, majority seems to be indoor workouts and running indoor, terrace to some extent, yoga, studying, and surprisingly about 27% have done nothing. No sporting activities, but other activities like cooking, washing, studying, babysitting. That's interesting. Some video gaming. Few have started playing. 8% have started playing, and about 9% have started training or continued training. Didn't stop. Fortunate. Okay. That's the poll results. So do you have an idea what kind of audience we have currently? And we shall go ahead with talk. So I'm going to just brief. brief you about, it's not for elite athletes, it's for other amateur athletes who is mainly meant for those 27% in the bowl who can actually start training now, or at least keep yourself fit. Video. So this is a terrace drills, which in our place we do not have enough place to practice. So our terrace is the best place. So I'm going to tell you about the terrace drills, which is about 5 minutes video. I'm going to just brief you on 25 drills. This is meant for amateurs, all the pros. Forgive me if I make some mistakes, prepared by me and Mr. Ganesan. So it's a 25 drills. Starts with warm-ups, which is running around, which is the first thing, and stay away from the fence at least about 4 feet, and warm jog. Any drill, any warm-up, any activity starts with warm-ups, and gentle other warm-ups include jumping jacks. You will have this available in YouTube shortly, so you can don't need to store this or write down. This will be available. So jumping jacks, 10 reps of 2 sets, followed by burpees. Keep your burpees less intense so that you don't get tired at the start. Again, 10 reps of 2 sets. If you are in partners, try to stay away from each other, at least 4 to 6 feet. Now, the dynamic stretches, sumo squats, which works on the quads, hip extensors. Then go on with the high kicks, which is a dynamic stretch for the hamstrings, and keep stretching in between with high knees. All of these 10 reps of 2 sets each. Then work on your sprints, which gives you the speed training. Always when you speed up towards the wall. If you do not have wall in your terrace, avoid speed training in the terrace. And this should be done with increasing speeds. And agility sports, who are involved in these agility sports like football, basketball, kabaddi, which needs sudden change in direction, you must do this ladder drills. If you don't have the ladder, use the square boxes in your terrace, or use lines with the chalk piece. These shuttle runs, T runs with increasing speed. When you come back towards the wall, you can increase the sprinting speed. This is both for agility and speed. As you keep doing this, you tend to be away from the sports. So shadow drills is very important. So you keep in touch with your sports, either football or basketball. These 2 examples will help you. First, you might do it without the ball, and doing it with your ball, with your sport, either a racket or the ball. Involving them during your training is important, so that you keep in touch and your mind is also staying awake. Imagine a player. Keep a chair, imagine player is there, imagine a game situation, keep thinking of the game, get involved with the ball. And when a partner is there, the friend is there, trying to fake the movement and follow the movements of the opponent. Use the balls, again, drills which have tackling drills, both any team sport will involve that. Then comes the jumping drills, where the jumping sports like basketball, football, or especially riders in kabaddi needs to train on this, both forward jumping as well as sideways jumping drills, which needs to be repeated over time. And these are low intensity jumps. If you want to train on high intensity, these are the ones. Box jumps, there are various variations of these box jumps, which are explosive in action, so the repetitions are low. And again, jumps involving your ball and the game which you're there, that will keep your mind engaged in the game. And for strengthening, planks, both kind of planks, side planks, might not be, these are called Copenhagen planks, which might not be able to retain for more than a minute. And Nordic curls for the hamstring, and the reverse Nordic for the quads, 10 reps of 2 sets each. This is for the strengthening part of it. And the COVID special, you need to strengthen your respiratory muscles. These are respiratory exercises with weights. You need to hold your breath for 5 seconds, then down. This can be done with resistive bands also. So playing your game safe, stay away from the fence, and keep your mind engaged in that game, whichever game you're playing. Try to do gaming or video games so that you have a positive imagery. So safety is important. Stay away 4 feet from the fence. Speed runs toward the wall. Ball drills, clean the equipments, maintain the distance during the practice, clean your equipments before and after the game. And finally, do stretch. This is the most important thing. Do your quadricep stretch, do your hamstring stretches, your hip abductor stretches, and your calf stretches, which is the most important part of your training schedule. Hope this 5 minutes would be useful for the amateurs. And we'll go on with the discussion. Over to Dr. David Rajan.
So thanks, Santosh, and a good description of all this exercises before getting back to games. To talk a little bit slowly, it may be better because a lot of people are from North. So then the next is going to be the question, how long should you train to get back to competitive level after lockdown? Could you please flash the question on the screen? How long should you train to get back to competitive level after lockdown? Always ready, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, and 3 months. This is competitive level, mind you.
So polling will end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Polling ends now. So those are the results.
Okay, there you see, and majority, 37%, 6 to 8 weeks. And 4 weeks, 24%. All right. Now, Mr. Ganesan, sports physiotherapist, will show us a few slides. After that, the panelists will tell us how long one should practice before getting back to competitive sports after the lockdown. Mr. Bhaskar, Mr. Sunny, Mr. Nawaz, Mr. Sridhar, all these panelists will be answering the question. Ganesan, can we have your slides, please?
On the system level. Hello. Okay. So this is my short talk. This is how do we start training and then go on to our performance. Next slide. Next slide. On the enable editing on the video. I'm going to share. Second one. So this is basically just a small tip to getting back onto sport. So we all know that if you need an optimal performance, three aspects. மூணு விஷயம் வந்து நமக்கு ரொம்ப முக்கியம். ஒன்று வந்து பேசிக் எஜுகேஷன், நம்ம அந்த ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் மெடிசன் இந்த இதை பற்றி. அதுக்கப்புறம் சயின்ஸ் அண்ட் ட்ரைனிங். இப்போ எஜுகேஷன் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கோவிடோட எஜுகேஷன் வந்து அது என்ன மாதிரியான ப்ராப்ளம், அதோட சிம்டம்ஸ் என்ன, அதுக்கு என்ன அவாய்ட் பண்ணணும்னு கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக தான் நமக்கு டெய்லி இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் வருது. ஸோ அதுக்கேற்ற மாதிரி தான் ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸோட ஆரம்பமே வந்து டிசைட் பண்ண போறாங்க. ஸோ அதை சயின்ஸ் பிளஸ் ட்ரைனிங் மாடிஃபிகேஷன் பண்ணாதான் நம்மளோட பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் மாறி வரும். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்லைட். So if you look at what is required for sports, this is known for everybody. What we know need is a cardiovascular endurance, we need strength, we need muscular endurance, we need flexibility, balance, stability, and all these components which is required. And these are trainings already followed by athletes. So I'm suggesting few steps what every athlete who knows these basic knowledge you can incorporate before you start your game. Evaluate. So every athlete who is practicing would have known a basic evaluation before he would have played, or any of his coaches would have told. So it could be a simple test like your flexibility test or a plank test or core test. So do a self-test. Now, these are simple tests. If you see previous. So these are simple tests. Every athlete would have somewhere or the other they would have done. So this is for body composition. So you would have known what is your fat percentage. So post lockdown, you might have had a different diet. There is a chance that you might miss on those aspects. Now you can do is ade tester again perform yourself. So know a value. So earlier, if you had done crunches for 2 minutes and if you have done about 80 crunches, now you check how you are able to do. Next slide. So whatever scores you get, you can compare with your previous score and you get an analysis. Do two kinds of analysis. One is body function. That is, you are able to do a full squat, you are able to touch your toes comfortably, your shoulders are better. Then body system is, okay, my body weight has been consistent before that and now auto it is consistent. My fluid system is consistent, do that. And then based on that, you plan your sport specific training. Next. So now that the grounds are probably opening up and people are going to allow you to train on the ground, you need to have a plan. So your plan can be based on how you had your training earlier done. And we saw in the panel, most of them did not train and some of them had done training. So now you need to plan that, okay, I am going to plan and start my training. Which component I am going to train first, whether it is the flexibility, strength, or endurance. Next. Then to execute, you might need the help of your coach, or you might need your help of your other partner who will also need to guide you in the training program or give you a schedule. So use that and plan how you are going to execute them. Next. Now, training load and intensity. So when you start at home, you have been training, and when you are going to come out, you have been training on and off the home. Now, always remember to start two things, your intensity and the load. Intensity start at least 60% of your old capacity. So earlier you will know what was your capacity, work only at 60% of your capacity. The load of training, again, also keep it very low and plan in such a way that every 2 weeks, you are going to increase only 10% load. And every time when you are going to increase the load, monitor and check your progression and plan in such a way that you need to go up to 6 weeks to ideally go and reach to 80-90% what you will be able to do. And make sure that always you are going to maintain the social distancing all along. So your basic message, what you need to carry from is home-based training to outdoor training is different. We are not used to this kind of scenario, but it is definitely different from the load what you are doing. So the load is and intensity has to change. Evaluate with simple tests to know your current fitness status and then start going on so that you can retest again after 6 weeks. Make sure you progress gradually. Keep that 6 weeks to 2 months gradual line to progress, and make sure your precautions and safety are primary concern before you do anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay Ganesan. Now we'll get the panelists' a view on this. Can I request Mr. Sridhar? And what is your take on this? How long should it take and for the athlete to train before he is able to compete in a match competitive level? Mr. Sridhar? Can you hear me, Mr. Sridhar? Well, I can see him. Mr. Bhaskar, would you like to answer the question?
You are getting my...
Now, how much time do you think the athlete should take before he can participate in the competitive level?
Yeah. Yeah. It takes, after lockdown is finished, then it needed 8 to 10 weeks to come back.
Right, correct. So do you have anything to add on this exercise program you showed?
Yeah,
and Mr. Ganesan's talk on endurance, etc.
Yeah. No, what the Ganesan told, it is correct. But I feel that even 60% of starting after coming back, it's very difficult. We have to go back to 40%, then we go to the 60, then we go to the 80, and we go to the maximum level for competition level. Because we have Asian Championship falls in the month of October. It may postpone to 2021 January. But if I start in August or July, August, then I can reach into the higher level. Why? Because the player, it is not an individual, it is a team performance. We have to make individual, group training, as well as team training. It takes more time. As far as the COVID-19, we don't know how many days it's going to be locked down. When we start, after starting, it takes minimum of 10 weeks. And what Dr. Ganesan told, it was fantastic what they shown. It is good that how we are going to start. We may start with the flexibility and some agility, some recreation game, not on volleyball, some other things. Then we'll bring them into the volleyball training. I feel that it takes time for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You think it's much easier and individual athlete can get back to competitive level little bit earlier, quicker?
Yeah, I feel like that, sir, because individual athletic, they will come back very easily because individual training. They can do and they can come back even in the home training. Individually, they are doing. Even volleyball players are doing. But when they come to that joining in the camp, I don't think that they will be very good with the combined with the team. So individual players easily they can come into the competition level. They may be having 8 weeks, they can. But as far as team training, it takes more time.
Thank you. Darun, are you there? What is the answer for this, Darun, in your opinion?
Hi, sir.
Yeah,
I think it's depend.
Indian
It
athlete
depends to.
training for Olympics.
Yeah, sir. So it depends upon game. I believe depends upon game. Maybe in athletics on the, it will take minimum 3 months to get into competition level. Bhaskar sir சொன்ன மாதிரி கண்டிப்பா டீம் கேமுக்கும் மினிமம் ஒரு 8 to 10 weeks வேணும். ஏன்னா இண்டிவிஜுவலா ட்ரைனிங் பண்ணியதாலும் they need coordination like team unity. அதுக்காக maybe they need 8 to 10 weeks. As a athletics track and field பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஒரு minimum 3 months வேணும் சார் competition level.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Bhaskar, you have anything to add to this? We can't hear you. Can you unmute your microphone, please? Okay, can't hear him. Is Mr. Nawaz on the line? Mr. George Thomas? Vallabh, as a physio, you have been the head of athletic teams also, and as well as cricket, as well as kabaddi. What is your opinion as to how soon can an athlete get back to competitive level?
Sir, as Ganeshan sir said, start with 60%, it is absolutely we can being into a level of athlete இருக்கும்போது 60% definitely start பண்ணலாம் because they know the basics of ABC. They would have been doing the in-house programming அந்த டைம்ல பண்ணிட்டு இருந்திருப்பாங்க. And as Ganeshan sir said, like 10% rule every 2 weeks வந்து அந்த 10% rule வந்து progress பண்ணிருக்காங்க. Progress பண்ணிட்டு to return to sports and competition வந்து 6 weeks கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. And depends as per பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னீங்கன்னா அந்த return to sports participation, return to sports, if it is going to be a participation, 6 to 8 weeks is very well enough for a participation. But return to participation, return to play and return to performance அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோம்னா பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ்க்கு இந்த 6 weeks buffer வந்து கொஞ்சம் டிரான்சிஷன் தான். ஏன்னா ப்ராபபிளா வந்து ஒரு கோச் கிட்ட பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா ஸ்கில் பேஸ்ட் அப்படி ஒர்க் பண்ண போறாங்க, பேராமெட்ரிக் ஃபிட்னஸ் பேராமெட்ரிக் பேஸ்டா எப்படி ஒர்க் பண்ண போறாங்க, டீம் கோஆர்டினேஷன் அண்ட் டீம் சிங்க்ரனைசேஷனுக்கு என்ன மாதிரி ஒர்க் பண்ண போறாங்க, இண்டிவிஜுவல் அத்லீட் அண்ட் குரூப் அத்லீட்ஸ் பேசிக்கலி டீம் அத்லீட்ஸ் டீம் ஸ்போர்ட்டுக்கு எப்படி ஹேண்டில் பண்ண போறாங்க. இப்போ கணேசன் சார் சொல்லும் போது பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஹைலைட்டிங் பாயிண்ட்ஸ் பாத்தீங்கன்னா flexibility, power, endurance எல்லாம் சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. But speed, speed.
Relevant, stick to English and very slowly. There are a lot of people don't know Tamil.
Oh, okay, sir. I'll also elaborate in English. Sir, Dr. When right from the start, I'll repeat it again, sir. So, as per Dr. Ganeshan sir said, to start off with 60%. Being a professional athlete, to 60% start is a really good start. And he also insisted on rule of 10% for every 2 weeks to progression. That is absolutely too good. And to return to play, he said about 6 weeks. When compared to return to play, we can I would personally to categorize into three different categories: return to participation, return to play, and return to performance. When it comes to performance, this 6 weeks buffer would be like too fast to start. Probably we can have a detailed interaction with the coach and the management and the performance dates with respect to, and plan a program little more accordingly, and make sure that injury prevention will be a first priority goal when compared to performance, keeping the athletes in mind. And also with the new change in systems with the healthcare and other systems, probably we can consider the program. And with respect to speed and reaction time, we can add little more value to it, sir.
Right, thanks a lot, Vallabhan. And quickly, one or two words from Chakra. Chakra, when do you think one can go into endurance sports like triathlon?
Doctor, thank you very much. And basically, endurance sports, basically triathlon, if you're talking about triathlon, you can individually practice. That is the advantage what we had. Even at the time of lockdown, we had the indoor trainer. Most of us had the indoor trainer. We were practicing the cycling. And of course, the pools were not open. Other than that, we used to practice running in the compound, you know.
But you've been doing virtual training, isn't it?
Yeah, virtual training, and we have virtual races also, which we participate through Zwift and Global Cycling Network, wherein we can compete with people, and we can choose different courses in the world. Like example, you can choose England or whichever course. And the latest trainers, it simulates the same effect of riding. Example, I choose the map of Nilgiris from here to Kotagiri. It stimulates the same what do you call that tension on the wheel, and it stimulates the same altitude. Everything is stimulated, so you feel that actually you're riding on the road. But however, there's a lot of difference riding on the road and riding indoor gets boring and it becomes very monotonous. Other than that, yes, cycling being a non-contact sport, we were lucky enough that even now we are riding outside in a small groups, of course maintaining social distance and following all the norms and sanitation required for the
So
COVID-19.
you're saying that basically, if you have been training and virtually, you can get back to cycling competition much earlier. Is that right?
Yes,
What about
very much, very much.
motorsports, Susanand? Yeah, you have a lot of virtual training in motorsports available now. I'm sure all these athletes have been doing that at home. So can you start a motorsports competition quickly after the lockdown is over?
The thing about motorsports is we are used to entering the motorsport weekend having been off the racetrack for many weeks at a time, especially if you come back from off season, unless you had a testing session or two. And the unique thing about motorsport is that you don't rely on driving a car to be fit. You work on your fitness before you get into a car. And if you're talking about in terms of preparedness for the weekend as such, using a simulator, there are simulators available. And some of the simulators have force feedback. So so you sort of get the feedback in the steering wheel as if you're driving on or especially when the wheels are, when you're loading the car through the corners. But however, the problem with the simulators is you do not get to feel the physical forces that are exerted on the body, the lateral loads during cornering, as well as the G forces, the deceleration when you're in the braking zone.
Go on. Mr. Dharmaraj, please mute your mic. Go on. Okay, I think we'll get on to the next question. That is question number 5. I think in essence, everybody said that it should take at least about 8 weeks to 10 weeks before you can get back to competitive level. So question number 5, over to Dr. Santosh.
Nawaz is also joined, sir. So including the next discussion.
Sorry?
Nawaz is also joined.
Oh, I see. Mr. Nawaz, can we ask you a question? How long could it take for the football athletes to get into competitive matches after the lockdown? How long they should practice and train themselves and condition and then get in? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I think hi everyone, in the first place, for a nice presentation by Mr. Ganesan. Like I said, for football, 6 to 8 weeks, I think it's a minimum to get the players' condition before they can actually play competitively. As what the other speakers have also mentioned, that the adaptation to the training, the loading is key for a start just before getting into competitive mode. Because if the adaptation to training and the loading is not proper and it's not gradual, injuries will set in, as we all know. For football, I think minimum we need 6 to 8 weeks if we want to return back to football. Especially, when training on the field is very much different doing virtual training, doing individual training during lockdown. That's my personal opinion.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get on to the next question. Question number 5, Dr. Santosh will take over.
So before we go on to the next question, just to keep our viewers interested, so there's going to be a lot of change in rules in the future. The most predicted one is whether we can use your spit to clean the cricket ball. ICC is going to come up with rules not to use the spit. Your other options. If you see this video, you must be knowing who this is. Pat Silcox using his armpit sweat to clean the ball. Can our viewers name the bowler who usually uses this method to shine the ball? You can use the YouTube chat or the chat in the Zoom to answer. I'm giving you 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That doesn't seem to be any correct answer at all. So any of the panelists want to take this question? Anybody? Who is that cricketer? So it's Fanny de Villiers, who usually uses his armpit, and he was caught in a controversy for that also. So moving on to the next question, which is the poll question. So there is a news. One of the few leagues which has already started is Bundesliga, the German league, and the EPL, English Premier League, also has changed a lot of rules. One of them being substitutes. They've increased the number of substitutes from 3 to 5. So on this, we would like to have some discussion. And the poll question on this would be this. So why do you think 5 substitutes are allowed in football post-corona lockdown? Is it to make the game more interesting, or is it to avoid spread of the coronavirus? Is it to play more matches during the shortened season, or is it to avoid players' injuries? So guys, so in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, end of polling. So that's the results. So you want to take it on from here?
Yeah, sure. So that's true, that to avoid players' injuries, that's what is done. And maybe, you know, from Premier League, others also may follow the suit. What about hockey, Mr. Bhaskar? Do you think a number of substitution can be increased? Mr. Bhaskar? Okay.
Hello,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Yes.
Bhaskar here.
Yeah, please tell us. Now, I
See,
was
in
asking. Yeah.
Hockey, we have a rolling substitute already in the rule. So it's unlike football. So anytime the players can go in and come in. But I think football is, as I said, is more of, you know, they're all coming back after maybe 2 months break and all. So almost all the players will not be at the same fitness level. So that's why the substitutes have, you know, gone from 3 to 5. And to avoid injuries to the current players, the 5 substitutes is quite welcome.
No, thank you. Mr. Nawaz, what do you think of this rule? You think that should be followed by AFC also, or FIFA for that matter? Mr. Nawaz, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. And, do you think this rule should be followed in FIFA and AFC?
I think every organization would have their own rule to abide and see to it. But I reckon as a coach, it would be a great help to all the coaches that 5 substitutions are allowed to aid the players coming back from the lockdown, because injuries can set in, and this allow the coaches to make more changes instead of the normal 3 substitutes. Sometimes coaches wait until the 80th minute or 85th minute to make the last substitute, because they're worried that the player might get injured. But with 5 substitutes, they can make their 3 or 4 substitutes much earlier and keep their last substitute for tactical reasons to try to change the game. I think it's a good thing that 5 substitutes are there. I hope all leagues can follow, and we should see more football being played in this manner.
Well, thank you very much. That's a very valid input from you. You think the match will get more interesting if we keep changing, like in basketball or even hockey?
Well, I think, like in basketball, you have timeout, all that. There's so much for frequent changes. But in football, I doubt they'll make the 5 substitute that frequently. But yes, tactically, things can change. Formation can change. You never know. If you have 5 substitutes, you can change the whole midfield. So it's interesting to see how these are being used by coaches, especially in the Premier League and Bundesliga, and see what happens. It's actually quite interesting to see how they use this as a tactical strategy to have an advantage for their team, apart from just injuries.
Thank you very much. I think we'll go to the next question. So how much do you think? Is there a slide for this, Santosh?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming up
How
with the
much
poll.
do you think empty stadium will affect performance? Do you see the stadium all full of pictures of various people? So can you take
Yeah,
the
the poll is already launched, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, voting is going on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So those are the results.
Okay. So everybody think that a lot of people, I mean, majority, 61% think that will be a lot of decrease in the performance. And some people only to some extent and the rest not at all. Okay, I think so. Let's ask the athletes. Darun, what do you think? You know, if you can you perform as well as possible to your best in an empty stadium, Darun? Darun not there? Sudanand, what sports?
Hello,
sir.
sir.
All the F1 and all that can participate without any audience?
Most of us in India are used to empty stadiums anyway. But then in any case, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on us in terms of the fact that now we have Facebook Live streaming our races, and you got at any point of time at least 1,000 people watching our races live. I've noticed that in the national races, so that's pretty encouraging. I mean, till Facebook Live came in, it was pretty discouraging when most of the people at the racetrack to support you are just friends and family, and then maybe a few other motorsport enthusiasts. But of late, social media, live streaming has changed the way of viewership in not just motorsport. I'm sure it's the case in all sports, and I think so. I think that's a very encouraging thing.
Oh, good. Mr. Srinivasan, இருக்கீங்களா? Mr. Srinivasan, athlete coach. You're not there?
Can I come? Can I come in? Bhaskar?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please, Ms. Bhaskar.
So this is actually, for example, as Sadanand said, it's, most of the games in India is empty stadium. But the athletes which performing outside India, when you go out of India, well, suppose you go to UK and play, most of the Indian nations would like to come and watch their stars. Like, say, for example, India goes to England and they say there's no spectators. Can Indian players will perform well? So the attachment to the crowd is very high for any athletes, so that they perform with the spectators who are watching them. For example, even at the World Championship at last athletics, for 100 meters for Usain Bolt, it is about 110,000 people watch. Now, if you tell Usain Bolt to run 100 meters without the spectators, he may not even run 12 seconds. So that is the difference between a spectator sport and also non-spectator. But there's no other go that it's a COVID problem, and with the lockdown, then we had to go with the health of the players. And same will happen to all the Wimbledon and French Open. They're all crowd making one, and also the revenue making one, because these players get highly paid because the spectators are filled in.
Yeah, that's a real eye opener, Mr. Bhaskar.
Yeah.
Mr. Sridhar, do you have anything to say?
Darun is there. Darun can give his input.
Tarun, come back.
Hello, sir.
Come.
Actually, in India, we well, our competition that time only athletes only around the stadium. There is no so 50 to 100% தான் 100 people தான் our audience இருப்பாங்க. இந்தியால நடக்கிற மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா, when we go to like European competitions எல்லாம் போனோம்னா லைக் அவங்க மூவி பாக்குற மாதிரி இல்ல பார்க்குக்கு போற மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு காம்படிஷனுக்கு வந்து லைக் கண்டிப்பா ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா ஒரு என்கரேஜ்மெண்ட் இருக்கும். இந்தியாவை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அப்பார்ட் ஃப்ரம் கிரிக்கெட், I don't blame about that. Apart from cricket, we don't have that much crowd encouragement இல்லைன்னு தான் கண்டிப்பா நான் சொல்லுவேன். அவ்வளவுதான் சார்.
Right. Okay. I mean, well taken. So when you go abroad, the encouragement for athletics and others are really good. Hockey.
Srinivasan sir is also there.
Mr. Srinivasan,
Sir, good evening, sir.
good evening. Good evening.
Thanks to all Artha One and we are seeing Mr. Sridhar sir and Bhaskar sir and Santosh sir and yourselves a long time back. And thank you. This is a very good opportunity to the all the athletes for athletes and other sports persons for doing the lockdown period. Some exercises. The Artha One instead to the our coaches and is very great. But I think one is the all of them doing for roadside and building sites and opposite. There is a lot of knee problem come to the especially for athletes. It's a very it's a very serious matter. I think last week I opened it on the person jogging finished 41 kilometers, 42 marathon, 42 something, 42 109 marathon, full marathon in the in building in upper building. It's okay. This is the good, but in our side and our coach's side, there's a lot of knee injuries coming to this type of practice after that lockdown is open. Lockdown is closed after the Nehru Stadium or all the stadium is open. There is a definitely come with the injuries for the athletes and all the players. I know the serious. This is the I'm telling you correct. Because this is a very serious matter. So I am doing practice last 2 weeks time giving my students, but on using for basketball ground and other ground. They've got like shin pain and knee pain. So the Artha One Hospital special treatment for the general give the YouTube or the other website to the after the lockdown prepared. We give the good instruction to the athletes and sports person to the how to recover the 100% the come knee pain 100% coming to the all athletes because it's very
thank you.
so that
and Dr. Santosh spoke on the exercises. Mr. Ganesan spoke on other things. We already discussed that, and we take your point. You're absolutely right to come back to before you come back to games and the performance and the competition. You got to train. So anybody else would like to contribute to this? Chakra, you think without spectators you can do all your triathlon, cycling, and all that?
Yeah, doctor. Actually, like ours, except the cycling in velodrome, any long distance cycling event, hardly we are in a confined space. We are almost traveling from one place to other place. So only encouragement we get is from the people who are around. Example, when we are cycling in Paris, all the people come out of the house and they encourage you. Of course, the encouragement means a lot, and it actually increases your performance. Otherwise, you get a boredom and you don't want to perform well, or you get really bored about it. But once people are encouraging, yes, it makes a lot of difference. Coming to triathlon, what happens is like again, the spectators are nobody else other than your family members. Again, they're also triathlon also will be doing the swimming, and nobody can join you there. And then only while cycling and running, you see people encouraging. But yes, it is a very important thing that people encourage. That's why some events are preferred by some people. Example, Mumbai Marathon, I've been going from last 5-6 years. The reason why I'm going is because the crowd encouragement is amazing. Same with our Coimbatore Marathon also, crowd encouragement is amazing. So that really improves your performance and you feel really satisfied. Doing whatever sport you're doing.
Thank you very much for the input. Mr. Sridhar, you want to say something? You've not told us anything about
Yeah, sir. Without, without public, without the people are in the stadium, it is very difficult to give a performance. As far as volleyball concerned, without public, the 30% of the town. So we needed in the stadium, then only the enthusiasm will come, the performance will come up. Wherever we go, we have gone to the Russia, wherever we go, we have seen the public is there for encouragement, then automatically the players will get a performance. Like what Bhaskaranna told, without the public, the revenue also very important. The same thing I am also telling that revenue one, the second one is enthusiasm and encouraging the players, automatically the performance will come. Without the people in the stadium, it looks very difficult. to bring the performance.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, now it looks as though there's a lot of crowd for volleyball and some other games and not for
Yeah.
other games. So wherever there is a big crowd is expected and even used to playing, you cannot perform well without the spectators. Okay. So shall we get on to the next, last two questions? And Santosh, you want to say something about this? Okay, the seventh question, social distancing and hand hygiene. Can you flash the questions, please, for the audience response?
Yes, sir.
Social distancing and hand hygiene during training and performance. Practically, it is A, impossible, B, possible to some extent, and C, definitely possible. Please go on.
The voting is going on. This is with regards to cleaning the ball and celebrations and handshakes. So the result of the poll is that's the result.
Well, possible to some extent, 65%. Quite agree with that. And it's sometimes impossible. Like a game like golf, it's possible. You can carry only limited number of clubs and let the caddy carry only the bag. You handle and clean the clubs. They can keep going. Tennis in the same manner, but not kabaddi or volleyball or basketball. Is very difficult.
Not
So any comments on this? Harun, in athletics is very simple, isn't it?
So can I come in?
Yeah, please.
So this social distancing,
Yes.
it has been actually followed because we have a Ministry of Sports to be very cautious on training part of it. But there's nothing on the paper about social distancing when the real competition is going on, because no game will change the rule to go 3 meters away in a team game. Say, for example, even volleyball, for football, for hockey, for cricket. If somebody going to stand in the strip all 5-6 for Kapil Dev, now the social distancing is not going to work out unless there is a lockdown is getting over and we come to a normal game. We can't do that. Even suppose it's not going through, even at the lockdown period in August or September. But you can't play any competition without the social distance. The social distance is so important for health conditions. For sports, even if you're training part of it, it could be followed only for a limited period. But otherwise, even in tennis, you can only play for, you have to go and sit on the chair after one set. Then somebody you have to, the ball boys will not be there. Social distancing. There are a lot of added advantage some for the players and added disadvantage for the players. Even in shuttle, there will be umpires sitting on if the competition starts. For training part of it, yes, everything can be followed. If you're going to do a match competition one or a tournament process, then I think social distancing has to go away and come back to normal. Then that will be possible.
So take a point. And what Mr. Bhaskar, this is going to go on for a long time to come. And this is not going to get over in 3 months or 6 months or so. Yeah. And what are we going to do in the long run? We can't tell people don't play football at all, don't play hockey at all, don't play cricket at all.
No, that's what my take is that in that, we need to, as people say, we need to live with that. So we have to play with this. You can't tell football or some other game not to, it's actually a manly game where you have a body tackling done. So I think even in Bundesliga, only the substitute rule is changed, not the social distancing, about a week back. So I think we need to start somewhere so the people enjoy the game and the player enjoy the game with elimination skill, passing skills, aerial balls, whatever it is, even in golf. Every game has got a specialty of each player. So that cannot be restricted when once he enters the ground and he only thinks of social distancing, then that could be a problem for the entire performance.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anybody else would like to add on?
Yes, I want to say something. I think the question is a wrong question. You shouldn't. I don't think you should be asking if social distancing, avoidable or not. I mean, it's inevitable in certain sports. So now the next question you need to ask is it inevitable? I mean, is there a way to mitigate the effect of passing on germs to another player? So now in this context, let's say there's a sport which is a 3-day event. Maybe on the day before the event starts, you get all the players tested for COVID and anyone who's going to come in contact with the players. I'm not now. You could yet catch the virus on the first day of the event or second day of the event by contact with someone else. So I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is you have to look for ways to now mitigate the chances of either getting the virus or passing on the virus to another player. Now, during a sporting event, especially if it's a professional event, the players normally stay in certain places. So basically, you have to find ways of restricting the movement during the event and get them tested just before the event. It's not a foolproof method, but it's one effective way of mitigating the effects of a disease which can be transferred from one person to another, either through air or through droplets.
So can I add something?
Yeah.
After a game, whether it's hockey, football, or kabaddi, I think Vallabhan will also agree that immediately after the sports, we put them on a pool session, or it will be an ice bath. So we don't know. Maybe later on we might put them on a sanitizer where and then bring them onto the pool. So we don't know how we'll have to innovate and think ways how we can make this possible.
Yeah, have a huge drum of sanitizer.
Yeah, they go in first and then go onto the pool.
Shall I come in, sir?
That's very good. Drum of sanitary and we are going inside.
Sir, shall I come in, sir?
Yeah, please do.
Sir, I have been working with the Zai League and Pro Kabaddi League, and I have been working with the TNPL. So I like to give some basic information how this team system operates, sir. So every player, we can consider somewhere around roughly around 20 players in a team. Or there will be around 12 teams in the whole season. Okay, every players will be allotted separate, different hotels. No players will be allotted in the same hotels. First thing, every players will have a separate entry and separate exit, and every player will have only two in a room. Every room is allotted only 2 players in a room. So it's very easy that a player can easily on the bus drivers. There is only one bus which is there for only one team. On the bus drivers, on the bus conductors doesn't change into it. The support and there is a support staff which is of 5 people over there. So everybody is pre-screened before the season, and everybody is have a basic medical complete routine before the season starts, and they have a 14 to 3 weeks period before the regular camp starts into it. So whoever gets screened over the first 3 weeks will go off, and the other people will get into the main screen, and then they will start into it. So initially, when I was talking to a couple of coaches, what they say is instead of putting 2 in a room, they can give an allowed single person in every single room into it. It's easy to maintain, and every day the rooms will be cleaned twice. When I was working over there, probably they can increase the multiple times of cleaning and fumigation and other stuffs. And every day they used to come for laundry morning and evening. Probably they might shoot up before and after the game of they collecting the laundries every time, and have a separate baskets for every people. Every person will have a separate wardrobe. You could have seen in any Chennai, any dressing room on I League or any Pro Kabaddi, every person will have a separate wardrobe over there. Every person will have a separate utility area to have a water bottle, dustbins and everything over there. So that it's easy for them to have their personal hygiene maintained. Every person, before they get into a ice bath or so, they have a shower before they drop into a ice bath and into the swimming pool, whatever it is. Even if there is an ice bath, or even if it is going to be a swimming pool session, we can still avoid it, and we can get into a 100-point recovery system. Being all international coaches, they should be very aware of 100-point recovery system over there. For example, 100-point recovery system, you do a foam rolling, they have 20 points. You do a deep tissue massage, they have 30 points. You do a zone 2 cycling, they have like another 20 points. So 100-point recovery system can be incorporated into the recovery part, and they can add more value towards the athlete preferably. And with respect to team meeting gatherings, they can definitely work on social gathering distance. And most of them, whenever during have this analysis, sports analysis discussion and all, we can have like live discussions instead of assembling in one particular room. This is still manageable. and we can have like team meetings and conferences over these Zoom calls and stuff, still manageable, and one-on-one correction is doable. Likewise, we can work on lot parameters inside the team. So people who work inside and out of the team, definitely they know that these parameters can be 100% managed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vallabhan. Very informative. Thank you very much. And before we go to the last question, there is one question here saying, well, how about masks? Can I wear the mask and practice? And I request Dr. Santosh to show us a slide and explain to us the plus or minus points of
Before we
mask.
go on to the mask, there are 2 more questions. We'll finish these questions and go on with the mask questions, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Here is question number 7.
Yeah.
So before we go on, I would just like to add a couple of points here. As Vallabhan had told and
okay.
had told a lot of points on this social distancing in sports. Few other things I would say, distancing among the teammates is very, very important when they're off the field. On the field, it's not at all possible, as Sudan and that pointed out. So the entire team must be considered as one family. So even though they stay in separate rooms, if one person is compromised, it's always a high chance that other members of the team would be compromised. So the team must be considered as single family, and the organizers must take into consideration, like team sports, where these leagues where they keep traveling from one place to another. Anyway, the stadiums are going to be empty. There's no point traveling home or away. There's not going to be much of a difference as stadium is going to be empty. It's better to have majority of teams in one place, play in one stadium, stay, and reduce the number of traveling and contact with general public should be totally avoided. And regarding testing them, in Germany, in the league, they test them weekly twice, which is quite frequent. So something like that must be followed regarding team sports. In individual sports like racket sports and balls, example in a tennis, there's no clear-cut guidelines as of now. So whether you need ball boys, whether you need sideline umpires staying so close to you, all that has to be thought of, and there might be changes coming up in the future. Grand Slams might stick on to their own conventional ways, but other ATP tours, there's no need for ball boys to handle the balls. There are other ways of getting balls in place with the minimum handling of balls. So we'll go on to the next part of this. So I'm showing you a couple of videos. Which has already been discussed, the virtual racing part of it.
This has not been one of them. George Russell dominates on the streets of Monte Carlo to win. In the virtual Grand Prix of Monaco, and look at the margin he had across the line by nearly 40 seconds. It's his second virtual Grand Prix win in a row.
These are for the viewers to see. This was the virtual Grand Prix of F1. It's almost like real with interesting commentary, and the same goes to this. This is cycling. This
Roach up to third place ahead of Vingegaard, and moving up the order and within touching distance of Schachmann. So
Tour de Suisse was cancelled, and the 5th leg was just as this.
quite the scrap for second place at the moment. You know you're not going to.
Sorry, there's a glitch. Hold on. So the point is to the online and with so much of virtual reality, most of the sports moving into virtual reality, even though it's not as real, people are able to keep in touch with their sports. And is this useful, or will this replace the future sports? Will it be of any use? Is my next poll question.
I think, can I come in?
Yeah, after the poll.
Okay, after the poll, yeah.
After the poll. They're waiting for more response. Yeah. Counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There are more responses coming up. Okay. So that's the result. You can see they say, okay, rarely useful, followed by useful. Bhaskaran sir, your thoughts?
Well, I think this could be like one of the game, like when you're doing the lockdown period, sit and watch and enjoy it. But
Okay.
there is, when the subject is about lockdown period where you are physically going to be active again after 3 months, I think it is, this game has been going for, people have in Europe have closed down some of the houses because this is also a group game. 10 people join there in school and play at home late in the night. So I think this could look very attractive for sitting at home and watching, but it is not going to replace the natural game or natural performance of any of the human people. You're going to perform at the best of it. This could be a mechanism where you can watch and enjoy and be relaxation. But when you're going to compare that to the human, World Cup or Formula One or maybe the league matches or the European League or Wimbledon or Olympics or whatever it is, this is not a match for any of the performance of the human people.
Yeah. So thank you for your questions. We'll just move on to the next question, which is related to this, and I'll add on to this point. So we'll see what's the next whole question, which is the second last one. Even the panel members can answer this. So how was your mood during lockdown when staying at home, especially for sports person? Choose the stars. 5 stars for the best mood, 1 for the worst mood. So let's see how much of response we are having. We are counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that's the result. So more, it was like 3 stars and more towards the 1 and 2 and less of 5 star. So during lockdown, mood tends to be low. We know that, and there are a lot of players like Lewis Hamilton who thought of retirement, and moods have been low, especially for an athlete. So at least to keep the mood up, as Bhaskaran had said, to keep yourself enjoyable, probably you can move on to virtual reality. But on the real game, it's not going to be useful. Maybe in few training sessions like shooting, where virtual reality is useful, it might not give you the same results as a real sport. So as we are running short of time, let's move on to the last part of the discussion. So that's the last question which is coming up. Okay. So when do you think you will play the way you played before? For all athletes. I put Dhoni's picture, so don't think of Dhoni, think of yourself. So when do you think you will play the way you played before? Okay, counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Still answers coming. End polling. So that's the result. Very few think never again, but I don't want them to think like that.
Yeah.
Majority think after the next year. So I need inputs from all of you panel members. So you want to share your views?
Yeah, can you answer that mask question, please?
Before this, okay, for the question from the panel, there was a question from, so I'll move on to the mask, short of time. Okay, these I expected. Let's okay, regarding masks, there are a lot of queries on masks. There are a lot of types of masks which are available. So first question is whether you need to wear mask while training. That's a tricky question because the law says if you venture out, you need to wear mask. So if you're going out, you need to wear mask. But training with mask is going to be very difficult. There are so many types of masks, like the normal 3-ply mask in the picture which you see. There are other cotton masks. This is one of them. So I'll change the view 1 minute. Clear picture. So whenever anybody wears a mask, there are few things which there are few studies which says the mask, wearing a mask mimics high altitude training, but truly it is not so. In high altitude training, it's going to be the percentage of oxygen is going to be low, so your hemoglobin content will increase. That's high altitude training. When you wear a mask, that doesn't happen. The percentage of oxygen is going to remain the same. The amount of air which so because of that, your oxygen carrying capacity in the blood is not going to increase. Only your muscles is going to get stronger. It's difficult for you to effort you put because of the test muscles. It's not the blood which is going to change. So when you train for long duration with the mask on, your muscles will get stronger. After you leave the mask, your strength of breathing will be better. But during training, if you wear mask, it is going to be difficult because of other aspects like sweat. The humidity inside your mask would be higher. So you need to choose a mask which absorbs moisture and it lets it away. And the amount of carbon dioxide which comes out, especially those N95 masks, which is less permeable to air, will keep up carbon dioxide inside. So it's the amount of carbon dioxide excess is going to be harmful. When it increases above limit, that's when it's going to be a trouble. So in those situations, these ones with the valves actually help, where it lets out the air which you breathe out into the outer air. Only what you take in is going to be filtered. But at the same time, if you are a corona carrier, you are going to let out the corona when you expirate. So that's not safe, but it's safe in the respect to corona. But it's going to be easier for you to breathe, and when you train, this will be easier. But it's not advisable if corona prevalence is higher, because you're going to still spread the corona when wearing this. So the humidity factor, carbon dioxide, so many factors are into place. But cycling is another aspect. In normal situation in training, about 6 feet distance from each other, the aerosols will be less. But when you cycle, when one rider and the distance between one and the next rider, if one rider generates an aerosol, it will still hit the second rider if he's 20 meters away. That's what the aerodynamic study says. So it's almost impossible to separate riders 20 meters, especially in our country. 20 meters with riders cycling is not possible. So it's better to do something which should reduce the aerosols from our respiration. Try to breathe in from the nose. So any kind of mask, N95 may not be. Training without mask is ideal in an isolated environment with your team who you are exposed to. But if you are in a common place, it's better to wear the mask which absorbs moisture, and N95s while training it will be difficult. Other masks which will reduce, but it's not foolproof. You can still get the virus through and out, but it will reduce the exposure at least. That's what
I have information on this mask, doctor.
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
Sure,
I have information on this.
Yeah.
Say about 3 weeks back, as you said rightly, the variety of masks, can also cause problem while playing or while training. For the common man who are also, walking across and then going for shopping and all, the mask what you're wearing in India is walking with us for 5-10 minutes. But in Europe, they tried about 2 weeks back. One was training mask, one was a training game mask, and one was an actual game at Belgium and Germany. But all the three, the athletes have told that it's difficult to play with the mask on. The reasons you told about all your inputs going in and going out when you're playing, they always play with a mouth guard. So they already used to it, mouth guard in hockey, especially ice hockey and all. But playing with the mask and training with the mask is not going to help any of the people at the ground, because it's not going to I think it's coming out, your carbon dioxide, it's not intake. There are a lot of reasons which the players will be uncomfortable on this mask. A normal man, yes, as the government says, the cautions have been made, the mask is a must.
Yeah, thank you.
There are
Mr.
so many
Bhaskar.
kinds of masks with the front valve, side valve, 3 layers. Just one point, sir. And these are masks which we thought it will be useful. It is permeable, which has a filter inside.
Yeah.
This is what.
Point that out, please.
So this, we thought this is useful. This is what we use in the regular home basis. And one more point regarding SpO2. There should not be any misconception that if you keep measuring the SpO2, there are watches which measure the oxygen carrying capacity. That might give you a false impression. Even only in a severe situation, you might have drop in SpO2. So do not get miscarried if your SpO2 of the mask carrying is okay, because the carbon dioxide might be more and still you'll have problems. So
Oh.
SpO2 lower. That's one more thing I would like to add here. So what do you say?
Right. Any other comments about mask? In which case we can wind up the meeting. We're already 1.5 gone.
Doctor, can I pitch in?
Yeah, sure.
So about the mask, yes, we cyclists also for cyclists also very tough to use mask, and we sweat a lot with the temperatures here in India, and the mask gets very soggy. Even if it is N95, even a reusable mask, it becomes very soggy, and the breathing becomes a problem. So now what we're doing is we are having the mask around the head. You know, like whenever somebody coming close, only we are covering it. Continuously riding long distance with the mask becomes very, very problematic, and you cannot breathe after some time. Especially if the game is very sweaty and the mask becomes very soggy.
Which kind of mask do you wear?
We are wearing the one with the filter, which Dr. Santosh showed us, with the filter, which has a black color filter, which is kind of N95.
Oh, okay.
N95 is very safe, but it keeps in moisture. That's the problem. Even though it's with the valve,
True.
few experts advise not to breathe out through the mouth where the moisture is more. If it's nasal breathing, but it's very difficult to control it. If it's nasal breathing, the moisture is less, but it's practically very difficult to do that.
Okay, and there are a few questions which are irrelevant to this discussion. And if you want to know anything about ACL and all that, please send a mail to us. We'll reply to you. So if no further questions, can I wind up this session? And thank you very much for participation. Special thanks to the panel members for their insight into the matter. And Mr. Sridhar, Mr. Bhaskar, Mr. George, Nawaz, Mr. Vallabh, Dr. Tarun, and Sudanand. Thank you all very much. Stay safe and keep practicing. Thanks for your input.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc, and thank you for making me a panelist in between all these stalwarts.
Thank you.
And,
thank you.
Beautiful people, like who have done so much for the country in respective sports.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Come back to normal.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you.
Bhaskar Anna, thank you.
Thank you.
Sridhar sir, thank you, Bhaskar sir.
Thank you, Srinasan.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Doctor. Dr. David Rajan is a great.
Yes. Always is great, sir. David
Yeah,
Rajan
great.
and Santosh.
Great,
Yes,
man.
Artha is great.
Thanks to Santosh and Dr. Ganesh. Very good. Very nice program. Very nice.
Sridhar, we are very proud of you because son of the soil.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Always with you.
Also, Darun, all the best to you.
You are young
Thank you,
man.
Doctor.
Young
Thank you,
man.
Right.
Coimbatore, Dr. David Rajan.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thanks, sir.